A 130-pound pit bull who still believes he's a tiny lap puppy. Sounds impossible, right? But wait until you hear why his owner named him after her late father, and the shocking coincidence that came next. This is the story of Wally, the gentle giant who changed everything. No matter where Emily sits, Wally always finds a way to climb on top of her. He always wants to be close, almost like he's addicted to touch. One paw on her leg, his head on her shoulder, or his whole body pressed against hers, as if not touching Emily with most of his body would somehow be a mistake. The first time Emily saw the little boy's photo online, she felt something very deep inside. Rescue workers said they had found him in the back of a truck when he was only 4 weeks old. Emily couldn't stop thinking about him. For 3 days straight, she worried that someone else would adopt him first, sending messages over and over again. Finally, a reply came. When she was about to open it, she froze for a moment, afraid it would say, "Sorry, he's already been adopted." She took a deep breath and gathered her courage. When she read, "Your application has been approved. You're eligible. We look forward to seeing you soon," Emily smiled through her tears. She immediately packed her car and began the 3-hour drive to meet him. But before we continue, I notice many of you watching aren't subscribed yet, and honestly, that makes me a bit sad. I pour my heart into bringing you these incredible rescue stories every single day, and your support really means the world to me. If you're enjoying Wally's journey, please hit that subscribe button. It helps me continue sharing these heartwarming stories with you. At a small park, a volunteer foster was waiting, holding a tiny puppy in her arms. The moment Emily saw him, all of her anticipation turned into tears. At that very moment, she knew she had made the right choice. She had dreamed of having a dog of her own for so long, and that dream had finally come true. That small, wrinkled face, those bright, curious little eyes, it felt like the puppy had been waiting just for her. A bond she could never quite explain, something beyond words. That day, she named him Wally. But I had no idea what was coming next. Wally grew up fast. Within months, that little wrinkly-faced creature turned into 130 pounds of pure love and energy. Emily laughs, saying he still doesn't realize how big he is. To her, he's still that tiny, wrinkled, adorable monster from the park. He still climbs onto her chest, as if he's that same little puppy. "Would you ever like to sit somewhere other than my lap? Or is this officially your seat now?" she jokes. Emily calls Wally the Brad Pitt of Pitbulls. His head is ridiculously big, his chest broad, his stance proud, as if he spends hours at the gym every day. But behind that huge, strong-looking body is the gentlest soul in the world. People who meet him are always shocked by how calm and kind he is. Confident, cheerful, peaceful, and overflowing with love. Just when we thought we knew everything about Wally, Emily decided to buy communication buttons. She taught him what each button meant. Wally learned faster than she could have imagined. When he wanted a treat, he would run through the house pressing the Kong button with excitement. When he wanted to go outside, he'd hit the walk button. It became their little secret language. Emily would laugh and say it was a mistake because the house constantly echoed with button sounds. This sweet creature's wishes never seemed to end, but Emily didn't mind. It made her happy. "He's smarter than I expected," she would say proudly, sometimes even too smart. But wait, the story takes an unexpected turn. Wally wasn't just a pet. He was Emily's soulmate, a loyal friend who came into her life right when she needed him most. A year before adopting Wally, Emily had lost her father. The emptiness it left behind was something she could never fill. When she named her new puppy Wally, it was inspired by her father's name, Walt. It reminded her of him, warm, familiar, full of love. And here's where it gets incredible. Later, she learned that the rescue team had named him Charlie, which happened to be her father's middle name. That coincidence touched her deeply. For Emily, it was a small sign that somehow her father had guided Wally into her life. Whenever Wally rested his head on her knees or looked up with those trusting eyes, she felt that quiet connection between them. Now, here's the moment that changed everything. Sometimes, Wally was unfairly judged because of his breed. People saw his massive 130-pound body, his broad shoulders and strong head, and assumed he was dangerous, a big, scary monster. Some people stepped away, others pulled their dogs closer. Each time, Emily's heart ached. She would sometimes whisper in his ear, "How does it feel to be judged and excluded just because of the way you look?" Wally would wag his tail, blissfully unaware of the prejudice, probably just wondering whose lap he could jump into next. This big, sweet monster still loved his cuddles. Even though people judged him, Wally managed to touch hearts. Neighbors who once kept their distance now came to pet him, sometimes even making bets on whose lap he'd climb onto first. Children tried to draw his big smiling face and proudly showed their pictures to Emily. Wally taught people an important lesson. Kindness isn't about appearance, it's about the bond you build. When Emily looked at Wally, she didn't just see a dog. He was like a band-aid for her soul, healing the wounds in her heart without her even realizing it. Wally was proof that sometimes love finds us when we least expect it. Every moment with him was filled with laughter, peace, and quiet happiness. When the house fell silent, Emily would lean down and whisper, "Thank you," and give him a gentle kiss. And what do you think Wally would do next? Of course, he'd take that as his chance to jump right into Emily's lap, starting their usual playful wrestling full of joy and giggles. Thanks to each other, both their lives had become brighter. And if you're wondering what they're up to these days, Emily is probably proud of herself for adopting him, and that once tiny, wrinkly-faced puppy is likely still wondering, whose lap should I jump into next? So what would you do if you had a 130-pound lapdog? Tell me in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, hit that like button to show Wally some love. If you ever get the chance to adopt a dog like Wally, loyal, loving, and full of character, do it. Be patient. Be gentle. Give them a space where they can feel safe. When we open our homes and hearts to them, they remind us that love has no limits, and that every rescued soul deserves a family. In my next video, I'll share the story of a cat who saved her owner's life in the most unexpected way. You won't believe what happened.